Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another, well, it's not an Old Firm game without some controversy, I guess. So it brings me great delight to say that we're joined by a friend of the show, former FIFA referee Mike McCurry, to examine some of the flashpoints in yesterday's League Cup semi-final at Hampden. First of all, Mike, great to have you on. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm just thinking to myself, it's actually good to get a Rangers Celtic game with a little bit of controversy. I think the last one, really nothing to talk about. And over the last little while, there hasn't been an awful lot, but at least this one's given us something. And it was a pretty decent watch as well. Maybe not a lot of skill, but it was competitive.
It certainly was that. Yep, good game for the neutral, I guess. Yeah, that game at Ibrox early in the season was yeah, but I forgot about it already. Nothing happened in that, but plenty happened in this one. So we're going to delve into it. The big talking points has been the the sending offs or the non-sending offs and what have you. So we'll kick off with the Tello Asgard sending off. I've got a little still image here. Of course, he flicked the ball up over his head, and then he catches Anthony Ralston there. You can see him grimacing in the thigh region. Nick Walsh was quick to race over and show Tello the red card. Mike, the justified decision, that one, do you reckon?
Absolutely. I mean, there is no way I think it's intentional at all. But unfortunately, when it comes to serious foul play, the ball's within playing distance, and if you endanger the safety of an opponent, whether it's intentional or unintentional, doesn't matter at all. And just as you say, that Nick was very quick to get in there and flash a red card. And I think probably the quickness of that was to try and make sure that there was no other reaction to it, that players would then see, right, fine, it's a red card, he's given a red card. And I think when you see Tello, he just sort of sits on the ground, so he does. And I think he almost expects it. But when he flicks it over his head, he's watching the ball, you can see that clearly. But he endangers the safety of an opponent, and that's a straight red. And I think, to be fair, most people would agree that that was a straight red. If it was the other way around and it was a Celtic player did that and a Rangers player, you'd be looking for a red as well.
Yeah, I've got to say, when I seen it in real time, I thought, he could be in bother here. So when I seen the replays of it, and I had no sort of argument on that front. Incidentally, never really done much before he gets sent off, so I'm not entirely a big mess anyway. But that was that. So Rangers were reduced rightly to 10. Celtic were heading into the break 1-0 up, but there was a major incident just before the half-time whistle was to sound, and that was involving Jack Butland and Austin Trusty. So I've got a couple of still images here. So the ball gets played into the box. Jack Butland comes out, and this is where he is in control of the ball, comes out and claims it, and you can see Trusty there is planted on his right foot. He then makes a motion, as you can see here, onto his left, and then he moves his right foot into the face of Jack Butland. The outcome, a yellow card, which has created a fair bit of controversy because every pundit in the land, I think, Mike, has said he was a very lucky boy to stay on the field of play. You're in Nick Walsh's shoes in that instance. What's the outcome, do you reckon?
Oh, please, may I never be in Nick Walsh's shoes. There's a frightening concept. No disrespect to Nick. Listen, the goalkeeper is in control of the ball. The Trusty comes in. There's no attempt to play the ball. There's no likelihood of him playing the ball. Now, you can see from that still there that it's a kick in the face. Players, you can see from his left foot there, the studs that he's wearing. So one of those studs goes into Butland's eye or, cuts his forehead or whatever. Again, he's endangering the safety of an opponent. But when you see it in real time, and then when you see it slow down rather than the still, you almost see Trusty there's almost like a hesitation or a hovering, and then he follows through with it. There's no need for him to do that whatsoever. And I think most referees, most experienced referees will tell you that's a straight red, violent conduct. It's a kick to the face. You've endangered your opponent's safety. A little bit about wasn't enough force in it. I think James Tavernier had said he had a conversation with Nick, and he sort of said there wasn't much force to it. If one of those studs goes into your eye, it doesn't actually have to have much force. And the fact that the ball is already under Butland's control, for me, that would be straight red. I'm a little surprised that VAR didn't get involved in that one. Because to me that would be a clear and obvious error. I'm not a great fan of VAR anyway. The way it's operated, I'm not a great fan of VAR. And I think if I'd been refereeing that game, the way I would like to see VAR used is that I would maybe ask for that to be replayed so that I could see it again. I can see it slowed down. And I think with VAR almost refereeing the game, it changes the shape, the dynamic, the atmosphere of a football match. Whereas a little like the rugby, where the referee says, listen, I'm in charge, I referee it, that's my call. If there's a free kick, a foul on or around the penalty box line, I'd be saying, listen, can I see that again? A tackle like that, I see that again. If I go across if I've thought it's a yellow card for whatever reason there, and I hope I wouldn't, but if I had given a yellow card there and I had gone across and looked at even that still in the monitor, you've got to say that it's a kick to the face and it's endangering the safety of a player regardless of the force, and it's a straight red card, which obviously means Celtic go down to 10 men, and you then what are the consequences of that mistake being made? We will never know, and I think we just have to live with that, Derek, to be honest.
Yeah, a glaring error for me. Just on Tavernier, he did say afterwards, he just said it's obviously down to the force of the stamp, but it's still the intent. The intent is obviously to put a boot on his head. So no matter if it's hard or soft, it's still his head. That's obviously their job. There's no excuses for us today. That's the issue, isn't it? I mean, we allowing players to make contact with other players' heads and faces now. I mean, I'm expecting Willie Collum to come out as he does with his review show at some point, Mike, and explain what went on. I know that Rangers have sought an explanation for that, but it's all well and good after the fact, if you like. But at that point in time, you're expecting your top-rate officials in the country to get those big calls right, I'd imagine, such a high-profile game.
Oh, listen, absolutely. And I think the two stills that you've shown, you can see how far away Trusty is when Butland actually collects the ball there, when he was in control of it, and then you roll it on. So I mean, there's distance there. Butland comes out, and it's not even as though Butland's following off into him, but he's obviously decided, well, I'll just have a kick there, and the pundits that say he's a lucky boy, it's probably one way of saying it. But for me, that's violent conduct, straight red card.
Yeah, and like you say, it just takes one of those studs in the eye, and it's a real serious injury. He's lucky boy Jack Butland, you could say as well after that. But an absolutely scandalous call, that one for me. In an instant in the second half, Rangers get a penalty, a handball. We've got a little still image here of Anthony Ralston.
Great goalkeeping.
So Jetty Kasama firing a left-footed strike. On looking at it in the replay, it looked like it was going to nestle into the corner, but there's Ralston doing his best Kasper Schmeichel impersonation, and Nick Walsh points to the spot. Now, he was on a yellow, Mike. A lot of Rangers fans saying, why wasn't he sent off? But can you give us your thinking behind this? Was it a penalty to begin with? I've seen some Celtic-minded folk, you could say, on social media and the like, saying that it shouldn't even have been a penalty, which I'm not too sure that's the case. But what's your view on this one?
Yeah, I mean, you see that Ralston's going down and he's throwing his body in front of that. Somebody had said before to me that they thought there might have been a little push. Even if there was a little push, the effect of it, the consequence of it, isn't that you go horizontal there. So he's defending, putting his body on the line, so he is. Now, at that stage, it doesn't matter really whether the arm is close to your body or outside of the body. It's not on the ground. So that is not a natural position for a footballer to be in, to be a defender to be in, for your arms to be there. So it's handball, and it is absolutely a penalty. There is no doubt about that. I have to say, for Nick Walsh, seeing it in real time, he did well to spot it. So he just the way when you see it in real time. But so the first question is it a handball? Absolutely. Is it deliberate or not deliberate? I don't think it's deliberate. I think what he's doing there is he's throwing his body on the line, and as a result of that, it's really the ball that's hitting his arm. So it's not as though he's going to play the ball. So I would say, although it's not a deliberate handball, it still is a handball. In my day, when we refereed, it was a handball had to be deliberate, and it was a lot easier, I tell you, back then. Whereas now, so for me, at the end of the day, it's a non-deliberate handball within the penalty box, and it's a penalty, and that's the first part of it answered. You then go on to ask about he's already on a yellow card.
Well, I think he was showing that. Yeah, he was already on a yellow, and he escaped punishment for that. Yeah,
correct. He did. About 2 years ago, I think it is, or it was, that the laws changed, and Law 12 says that a handball is a yellow card, is a cautionable offence. And 2 years ago, it changed, and they added at Law 12, except where it's a non-deliberate handball and the referee has awarded a penalty. Now, the justification for that really was a case of people were saying it's like double jeopardy. It's a case of, he was on a yellow card. Is it unfair? They've given a penalty, and therefore, if he's on a yellow card, is it unfair to give him another yellow card for a non-deliberate handball where the referee has given the penalty? So as I said before, I would deem that to be a non-deliberate handball. The referee has given the penalty, and therefore, according to Law 12, then that is not a cautionable offence. That is not a yellow card. And that was specifically changed, I think it was 2 years ago. So in that situation, I would suggest that Nick got that one correct. So listen, I can understand the fact that 2 years ago, the International Football Board would have changed that under pressure, where they're saying, is it a little unfair that for a non-deliberate handball, you've been penalised almost twice? It's a penalty kick, and a player's gone off because he was already on a... but that little additional comment, that nuance to it, flies by everybody. And I can tell you, there's probably football players, professional football players, wouldn't even know that. There'll be pundits that won't even know that. And I dare say there might be one or two referees that don't know that's the case as well. Sad to say, Derek. So
that's why we've got you on.
Thank you. That'd be my submission of that one.
Yeah, that's why we've got you on, Mike, because you're the expert with regards to this. And Scottish football has been a poorer place when you hung up your whistle, that's for sure. But there's a few comments coming. I wanted to touch on this because we often get this after quite a controversial Old Firm derby. Gaz Jones with the point says, we need to have non-Scottish refs for Old Firm games going forward. Is that something you think it doesn't shine a good light on Scottish officiating and the pool of referees that you have? But should that be a route they should look to go down, given that we seem to be talking about big decisions like this? Pretty much, I mean, like you said, the game earlier on at Ibrox early in the season was pretty much a non-event, but these high-profile games, is that something that the SFA should consider for you?
No. I mean, listen, they take Scottish referees. I was privileged to have 10, 11 years on the FIFA list of referees, refereeing European international matches. No matter what you get, there's always going to be opinions. I would dare say that probably a lot of people would think that Asgard fine a red card. Trusty, some folk would say, oh, it's just a yellow, it's just a petulant, which is wrong, but they would maybe argue that. But with Nick Walsh there, effectively the only decision he got wrong out of those was the Trusty kick on Jack Butland. And I think VAR could have helped him out there so they could, in terms of that. And listen, I know that it's easy to slate our referees, but, listen, there are games being cancelled and they're struggling to get referees for certain games, so they're in Scotland as well. But listen, I've watched some European games. Listen, you'll have watched some European games at Ibrox with European referees.
Listen, I know.
And a lot of them are just as bad as I was. So I just think stick with the guys we've got.
Yeah. You don't want a Turkish referee given what's unfolding over there. That's for sure. It's a bit mental. That's a given. There's an interesting point as well. So those were the big main flashpoints. There's a point coming in about the Cornelius challenge in the first half. We went in and got a yellow card, which I think was the right call. I'm not too sure if you've seen that, but I think that you're probably right in your assumption there, Mike, in terms of those three major incidents. I think the Trusty one. Why would they not be called over to the monitor, do you reckon, at that point? Because that seems like you said, a clear and obvious error. So that given that the technology that is available to the officials at this point, a lot of money spent by the clubs to have this technology as well. It doesn't seem like it's getting used properly.
Yeah, I mean, just touching on the Cornelius one, I think most commentators, most folk have said the yellow was probably the right decision there. I mean, listen, it comes down to the referee's opinion, and that is very, very difficult. And if you're looking at a threshold sometimes of, is it yellow or, is it a stonewall yellow, but it could be a red, depending on the speed of a tackle, where the foot's lifted and so on. And you'll even see in European games that threshold sometimes changes. So it does, even just nowadays in Europe, just to show the sole of your foot in a tackle is basically deemed. If you've connected, I think it was Diamonde in Europe that come over the ball and then connected with the player, and it's a straight red. So even in Europe, there's different thresholds in terms of that. Going back to the VAR with Stevie McLean, Stevie's an experienced referee, so yes, and Andrew Dallas, but he'd be on the assistant VAR. I'm a little surprised. I don't have an answer for you as to why. And I think, if I was on VAR and I saw that and had any doubt at all, the easy answer for me on VAR is to get Nick across and say, listen, I've got a little doubt here. Even if I'm not 100% sure, but I'm saying to myself, there's a boot in the face there. Can you just come across and make sure that you are happy with that decision in terms of that? And unless you hear the audio of what went on, we won't know. Maybe Willie Collum will explain that to us. Sometimes, I think people will say, because a yellow was given, that the VAR's attitude is, well, he must have seen it and he's happy with that decision, therefore I'm not getting involved. And there should be a bit of clarity about that, because I think it then means if a referee does incorrectly give a yellow card, if I'm sitting in VAR and I think it's red, I'm busy thinking to myself, well, I've just got to let him go with it. I think any referee on the field would want to be able to get called across and say, listen, you have to have a wee look at that again, just to make sure.
And VR in the main, Mike, do you think it's like you touched on earlier? I don't think it's a good thing for the game either. I much prefer life without VR. Do you think you'd have enjoyed having that back in the day?
As Craig Levine will tell you, there was one Rangers Dundee United game I would have loved to have it in, so it would. But to be honest, other than that, listen, we get through games and our percentage correctness of decision was very, very high. You get myself, Kenny Clark, Big John Robotham, Stuart Dougal, these guys. And I don't think we would have needed. I think probably my whole career, I can maybe think of a couple of times in that game, the Rangers and the United game, and maybe one at Aberdeen, there was a behind my back incident. And you say to yourself, I refereed in the Scottish Premier League, whatever it was, 17 years. And if you think to yourself, I probably would have benefited on those 2 occasions. But I think, again, as I said earlier on, the use of it, I would rather say the referee's the guy in the middle. The referee is the guy who referees the game. He's the one who makes the decisions. And if he wants then to have something referred and say, can you play that back to me? I'd like to go and look at it. I think it would get rid of a whole load of these things where, you know, a goal is scored, but they've taken it back, you know, to sort of 3 minutes before when it was a foul throw-in or something like that, you know. And if you even look, as you know, you look at players now, they score a goal, you know, do I celebrate? Do I not celebrate? You know, if I celebrate, and same with fans.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. James is message in here. I'm interested to get your thoughts, Mike. He said, should refs be mic'd up in their decisions? This is what we get in the rugby, of course.
Listen, 100%. I would agree with that. What do you call it? The first time that it was an Australian company that used the microphone system between referees and linesmen, fourth officials. It was trialled at Rangers versus Kilmarnock at Ibrox. I refereed that game, and I've always said, listen, mic me up so that people can hear. I'm quite happy for them to hear my whole conversation throughout the game so that they understand. It's part of an education of fans as well. Now, I know that some places would say, we don't want that because you're going to hear a player swear at a referee, and you might even hear a referee swear back at a player or whatever. But listen, I don't use foul line. I'm a minister, for goodness sake. I don't use foul line. Never have done. I think I've always tried to be respectful. To players, and to be fair, 99% of players were respectful back to me. And any conversation that we would have had, by and large, would not have been a problem. But there are things that a referee does that fans don't really see. You know, a little advantage here or whatever it may be, or even being able to speak to a teammate of a player, just being able to say, listen, you know, calm him down a little bit or whatever, or, you know, that sort of stuff. Can you make sure he gets back, you know, 10 yards? And I think the whole spectacle of the game, like the rugby referees, I think the fans would enjoy that. You know, you can hide behind the silence of we're not allowed to speak to the press, we're not allowed to do that. But in short, should refs be mic'd up to explain their decisions? I would be 100% for that.
Yeah, it should be transparent. I like as well, I know in Italy that they put a camera on them and they run about and you can see them speaking to players, which is quite intuitive. I'd quite like something like that. Whether that happens in Scotland, I would probably doubt it at this point. But it's been great having you on, Mike, as ever. Any Ironmans coming up? I know they are very... I've
got one in June next year, one in Hamburg.
So it's in the summer. Fantastic city.
Lovely. Well, right in the city, the river, you swim the river backwards and forwards, and then you get a cycle around it, and then a couple of loops of that, and then I make it sound easy. So I'm getting to that age where I might drop to a half Ironman or something like that. But so I'm looking forward to that, Sam. So just be your viewers or anybody else for that matter. I'm not planning to make a comeback to refereeing, so they can rest easy. So they can
rest easy. I'd love to have you back, given what we've had to endure. But there you go.
You're very kind.
It's been super having you on, Mike. Thank you very much for coming back on, and no doubt we'll have you on at some point down the line soon.
Thank you very much indeed. Always a pleasure, Derek. Good health.
There you go, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed that. A bit of insight into the big instance from Sunday's League Cup semi-final. Bye for now.